Sean, do you want to describe the small tour experience? Because we're doing the Utah National Parks experience called the Mighty Five, and this is going to start off from Salt Lake City on this particular trip. And Sean, do you want to explain that experience a little bit?
Sure. So as I mentioned before, with the small group, that is such a great way to experience the national parks because of the accessibility, flexibility, and things that go along with that small group experience. So you'll arrive in Salt Lake City. You'll meet your guide, and they'll transfer you to the hotel. And from there on, that is your guide for the whole trip. Your guide is also your driver. So we'll be on Mercedes Sprinters. I hate to call them a van because they're so much nicer than maybe what I would picture in my head when you say a van, but they're tall. You stand up and walk back to your seat. They're all captain's chairs. So you have your own seat. There's no benches, big viewing windows, extremely comfortable, more legroom than you'll get in a motor coach, to be honest. And it's easy in and out, 2 steps in, 2 steps out. So very comfortable vehicle. And with that wonderful local guide and it's a more intimate group with that smaller number. We usually average 8 to 12 people per vehicle. So you'll make some wonderful friends. And that's the benefit of that small group. And then since you're traveling to national parks and there's lots of different opportunities for exploring and walking and hiking and those sort of things with that small group, your guide can be really accommodating to different levels of needs when it comes to mobility, how much you can hike or not. They'll really be able to cater to that, can really adapt to the weather. With that smaller vehicle, we can go to places that you couldn't in a motor coach. We can drive down dirt roads, which often no motor coaches like to do. Also some little special things that won't be listed in the itinerary that your guide will be able to do for you because they're the driver and the guide, so they can just pick up and go and do something that might be special, like catch a sunrise for photography or a sunset, or go out and do some stargazing, things like that are really part of that small group experience. Another really nice benefit with the small group is just even where we can stop for lunch. You're out in some remote places, so it gives us a lot more variety of places that we can stop and have lunch or have dinner and that sort of thing, because we're talking about 8 to 12 people, and so we have a lot more choices there.
So there's a real special experience, and that's really what this is all about. These places are amazing, and we want to have you experience them. So if you haven't found the flyer, you can go to friendshiptours.net. Under Fly Tours, you'll see the trip listed, and for more information, you can list this flyer here. But let's talk a little bit about the itinerary. So the inclusions, I talked about round trip airfare. So that's going to be coming from Bradley. We'll fly into Salt Lake on this particular trip. And then you, of course, have your wonderful Southwest Adventures tour guide that's going to be meeting you. And you have your travel, your transportation, 7-night hotel accommodations, wonderful 3-star properties, 7 breakfasts, 6 lunches, 2 dinners, all the park entrances. It's always nice when you're out west to stay hydrated. So water is really important. So we appreciate that. And applicable taxes and fees. I did want to share, Sean, a quick video of the experience, because a picture is 1,000 words. I don't know what a video is, but it's a lot more than that. So if you don't mind, we'll just do a quick share of this experience. There's a lot there, Sean. Let's unpack that video a little bit. Do you want to share a little bit about, before we go into the day by day, what the Mighty Five are, and talk a little bit about, people always ask how active is the tour?
Yeah, those are all great. So the Mighty Five, that's the 5 national parks in Utah. It was a marketing promotion that came out in the early 2000s. And so many people have heard that term, the Mighty Five. And so that's Arches, Canyonlands, Capitol Reef, Bryce Canyon, and Zion National Parks. On top of that, you're going to see, for instance, on the screen right now, that top left photo is of Goblin Valley. It's a state park. We have wonderful state parks, national monuments, and other scenic areas that aren't designated along the route. And it is an active tour. We use a rule of thumb of about 3 to 5 miles a day is the average walking and hiking. Many of the scenes that you saw in that video, you just need to do some walking to get there. It isn't over strenuous. I would call it moderate. And there is options. So for instance, towards the end of the video, you saw the folks walking in the narrow section of Zion National Park in the creek up the river there. That's not required. It's something that we do. It can be fun, but if you don't want to do that, it's fine. There's a beautiful paved mile-long walk in that same area before you even get in the water. So your guide will work with you to make things fit. So there's options wherever we go, but it is active, and 3 to 5 miles a day is pretty average.
So some of those scenes where they're climbing over boulders and doing all that. The nice thing I found last year when I was in Yellowstone is there were always options. There were things that, the guides were wonderful, letting us know where it would be strenuous, what you wanted to do. And then the group was able to kind of pick what was best. And with such a small number, the guides really can kind of get to know what everybody's abilities are.
That's exactly right. That's really how we operate it. So yeah, don't be worried. As long as you're in good, reasonable condition, you'll really enjoy this trip.
So again, we were talking about 3 to 5, that's in a day.
In a day.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're not saying you have to be able to walk 3 miles. That's kind of a rule of thumb to give you an idea. Right. And I think everybody saw different people in the film, so you get a feel for it. And if you have specific questions, please give us a call and we'll talk a little bit more in depth with you and see. We always want to make sure we have people that are going to enjoy the trip to the fullest. And so it's always important that you kind of have an idea going in what you think you might be able to do, and then also we can kind of figure out different accommodations on the trip as well. So Let's go into the daily breakdown. So you're going to fly, go ahead, from Bradley and into Salt Lake.
Right. This slide covers it really well with the day-to-day. It is an 8-day, 7-night trip. It's arrival on a Sunday and return on a Sunday with 7 nights along the route, with your first night and last nights both being in Salt Lake City. The video actually really follows the itinerary quite well in the order that we do it. So you'll overnight in Salt Lake, day 2, and there's really nothing on that first day. It's just an arrival day. We have you in nice accommodations in downtown Salt Lake where you can walk and enjoy that city.
And it's a great city. We were there this last July. There's clean. It's a wonderful place. A lot of us just kind of walked around the downtown area, lots of good food and things like that. So it's also, I think, one of the most spectacular fly-in areas. The mountains are right there. Unlike some of Colorado where you're going through the foothills, you fly in and the new airport is gorgeous. And literally there's a window where, bang, you see Salt Lake, the mountains. You could almost get to Sean in Park City, I think, in about 45 minutes. So it is a really spectacular city to fly into.
Yeah, it is great. So it's definitely a great way to begin the trip. And you really do get the sense that you are in the Rocky Mountains, because you are. It's part of the Rocky Mountains. So then we really get going the following morning. And on day 2, you'll leave Salt Lake City. It's about a half-day drive with a rest stop along the way. And so by lunchtime, you'll be in the Moab area, and we'll start that first day of travel with Canyonlands National Park. You will visit multiple viewpoints, scenic points. There'll be some beautiful walks on that day that you'll be able to do in Canyonlands, and you're on the rim looking up to 2,000 feet below to the Colorado River winding through the canyons. Some of the most spectacular views in all of the West. In the video, some of those views you thought you might be looking at the Grand Canyon, but that was actually Canyonlands National Park, which I think you'll really enjoy. So that's our first travel day. And we do get 2 nights in the fun little town of Moab. It's a funny name, but it's a great little town. So you'll be able to enjoy time there. And again, very walkable, lots of shops and restaurants and that sort of thing in Moab. And it's nice to have a 2-night stay. And then on day 3, we'll concentrate on Arches National Park. Particularly in the morning, we'll get up and get into the park so that we can walk some trails. The lower, kind of in the middle there, the picture you're seeing of Delicate Arch is the most famous symbol, I think, of Utah and the region. And we'll do a hike to Delicate Arch. And that's a wonderful hike, but you can only see that view of the arch by hiking to it. There's no road to that spot. But we'll do some other walks, really fun views there in Arches National Park. It's just got great, pretty level hiking trails that you'll really enjoy. And then the guide, at the guide's discretion, will spend a little more time outside the park in the region. There's wonderful petroglyphs. There's scenic roads up and down the Colorado River. So a really good day on day 3. Day 4 is a travel you'll do a little more in the area, and then you're going to make your way westward and go to Capitol Reef National Park. On the way, you'll stop at Goblin Valley. It's so fun and interesting. It's been used in many movies to depict another planet. So you really enjoy Goblin Valley State Park. You can just walk right around all those formations. It's super fun. And then into Capitol Reef. Now, Capitol Reef is in the center of the state of Utah, and it's the least visited of all 5 national parks. There's only one paved road that kind of passes through this national park. So the beauty of this park is that you'll see wonderful views. You'll do some really spectacular walks and hikes, and it's never crowded. That's one of my favorite things about Capitol Reef is the views and not big crowds. And we'll overnight right there near Capitol Reef. So again, this is something a little different. With a small group tour, we can stay in the Capitol Reef area. There's just not a lot of accommodations there. So it gives us an opportunity to do that.
And Sean, one of the nice parts is a lot of times people are going to the national parks and they don't realize how many great spots are state parks.
Correct.
And so this is kind of one of those insider, knowing the area, being local, having these guys that have done this so often, they know how to kind of get out and away from the crowds.
Exactly. Yeah. There's some spots, even in Capitol Reef National Park, as I mentioned, there's only one paved road that goes through it. So some of the views you'll go out to, you have to drive a dirt road. And that's where our small vehicle gives us access where a motor coach would not. So yeah, I think you'll like the little, and again, all these guys, they know the area, and so they know the best little fun restaurant to have lunch or dinner and those things that we mentioned before. So something a little bit out of the norm for a tour of the area. From there, we're going to drive one of the most amazing roads in all of North America from Capitol Reef to Bryce Canyon National Park is Highway 12. This is a scenic byway. It's actually been designated as an all-American road, which is the cream of the crop. Really, if you read the history, it's sort of the starting point for the whole scenic byway movement. Locals thought this is so scenic, we've got to tell people about it and designate it as something new. So they pushed for this idea of a scenic byway, and it was born there on Highway 12. It's hard to describe other than when you see it, it's just amazing drive. So that's a treat that you'll get that you've probably never heard of on your way to Bryce Canyon National Park, which is where you'll spend some time there. You know, you've seen quite a few pictures in the video and one here of Bryce Canyon National Park. They look fantastic and beautiful, but as you know, these pictures really can't even capture the real beauty and magnitude of Bryce Canyon, and which is true for all these parks. But you know, Bryce Canyon is wholly unique in the planet. There's nowhere else anywhere on planet Earth that has this geological type of formation. So you can't see it anywhere else, and that's true for Arches National Park. There's nowhere on Earth that has that kind of concentration of natural arches. So right here in our good old USA, we've got some places that are unique to the world. So Bryce Canyon's wonderful. You'll enjoy some views. You'll enjoy a sunset, a fun Western dinner show is part of the availability there. And I think you'll really enjoy it. One thing to note is that Bryce Canyon, the weather will be a little different. It's you're at 8,000 feet, so it's going to be a little cooler there than the other places, and you'll be going up and down some beautiful mountain ranges in between these red rock deserty areas. But yeah, it's a beautiful spot with ponderosa forests and all around it, and so it'll be a little change there at Bryce Canyon. You'll overnight at Bryce Canyon, so we'll have plenty of time there, and then from Bryce Canyon, begin to have a little time in the morning, and then we'll make our way to Zion National Park. This is Utah's oldest and most famous national park. Again, you've seen it in many movies and TV, and it's the views of Zion are what you probably see most in travel magazines and shows and that sort of thing. That's really stunning. Bryce Canyon, you view from the top. Zion, you're going to get to view from the top and from the bottom. And again, you've got these towering, stunning red rock cliffs that are 1,500 to 2,000 feet high with beautiful colors of red and white and orange and cream. Wonderful walks and hikes down in the canyon. There's a river that runs there. And so that's lush and green, even though it's in a sort of a deserty area. It's really an amazing experience. I'm sure it'll be one of
Sean,
your favorite.
was that where they were walking through the water?
Yes.
So
yeah.
if you're thinking back to that video, how beautiful that sandstone kind of coming down, and it really almost looks like another world. That's what you're remembering.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the Virgin River. And again, you'd have that opportunity to walk a little ways up. It's an area where the river has cut a narrow canyon through that 2,000 feet of sandstone and offers some spectacular views. But again, that'll be a choice, and you can still see that without having to go through the creek. So,
and the order here is so great because it's such an impressive park, Zion, that I feel like almost you've put it in the perfect order.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I'm glad you feel that way. So you'll spend a night there too, right at the entrance of Zion. So there's no rush on any of these parks. You'll have full days to really enjoy them. On the last day of travel, which is day 7, you'll be the morning in Zion. Then we're going to take you to one more little treat as you travel from the southern part of Utah back up to Salt Lake City. Most people that go to see Zion National Park, they see that area that's called Zion Canyon that we've been talking about. But there's actually another small entrance on the on the west side of Zion National Park called Kolob Canyon. And as we're traveling north, you'll leave that part of Zion, we'll go north, and then we'll go in that small entrance where, again, most people will never see it. And it's just some other magnificent canyons to view. It's more of a driving tour that day, completely uncrowded and beautiful. So we'll give you a little extra as you make your way north back to Salt Lake City. So you'll be back in Salt Lake City for another night, and you'll have an evening there to, again, enjoy Salt Lake City for one more night before you return the next day.
So if you are interested in this trip, you will find all the information on our website. Barb, who is on the call, she's ready to take your reservations. You can either give us a call or you can always email her and she can return and get in touch with you. But the phone number, 860-243-1630. Again, our website would be friendshiptours.net, and that information is all listed right there.